Yes, I can. Welcome to my 11th Circle Presents Cricbuzz Live. Third ODI is about to start, and the good news is Virat Kohli has won the toss. Michael is here with us. As usual, the usual suspects are early in the morning, all set to watch this last game, which is not so important from the series point of view, but Indian team will be looking forward to win a match for sure. They wouldn't want a whitewash for sure. Michael, welcome to the show.
Yeah, cheers, Zach. Yeah, you mentioned the good news from an Indian perspective is that Virat has won the toss. Canberra is renowned for being such a good batting wicket. The two games in Sydney, India were chasing. So to get the bat in the hand first to try and post a big total, Virat and the team will be delighted. I think the weather's nice. The pitches, I mentioned, generally very flat. So India have got a great chance of posting a big score.
Well, gentlemen, it's time to say a very good morning from me as well. We're so glad we started the show off from England for a change. Well done, Zaheer. You're used to opening the bowling. So here you are.
I tried my best, GB.
You did a sterling job. You did a sterling job. It's what happens in a game of cricket when the opening bowler from one bowl and it's tossed to someone who's opened the bowling all his life. And of course, Michael Vaughan, who can do just the same with bat in hand. Wonderful to have a couple of openers open the show and me sneak in right at the end. Well, there you go. One more time, my 11th Circle presents Cricbuzz Live, bright and early, to see if India can do to the cricket what I didn't do to the show. There you go. They were a little bit naughty in the first couple of games, particularly with ball in hand. And I think, gentlemen, it's time for them to rectify that, because apart from anything else, there will be some change of personnel today, Michael.
Yeah, I think we're obviously going to see changes on both sides. David Warner missing out. I've been speaking about Cameron Green from an Australian perspective pretty much all week. A real high-class young all-rounder from Western Australia. Had a really good state season so far. His first-class average is near on 50 with the bat and 23 with the ball in hand. So he's a really good prospect for Australia. Ashton Agar, he's going to get a game as well. Mitchell Stark's being rested, as is Pat Cummins, and Sean Abbott comes into the side as well. So Australia have gone for a few changes. They're full of confidence. They're playing really good white ball cricket, and they have been doing all year. They just look like they've got something going, Australia. Of course, you're going to miss the likes of Stark and Pat Cummins, but there's some strength and depth in Australian cricket at the minute. So I don't think we'll see too much of a fade in the performance levels from the Aussies. I think it's just all about India. Can they respond and put a better performance together? They played well with the bat in the second game, not so good with the ball and in the field. And I think that's what Virat Kohli will be hoping for. Batting first, get a big score, and then a few improvements with the ball in hand and obviously in the field, which will try and help India get that first win against them.
Yes, Zaheer, for India, of course, there have been 4 changes, and this is something we expected for more reasons than one. Australia's changes, one, of course, an enforced change. The others were players who were rested. But there you can see right at the top, Mayank Agarwal goes out, in comes Shubman Gill, and some changes in the bowling department. Chaku has been separated in a sense. One goes out, one comes in. In Kuldeep Yadav, Shardul Thakur is in as well. But Zaheer, big one for you, Natarajan finally getting that India cap.
Absolutely, I think he's had a good IPL, a good prospect, good young talent. Has been bowling really well at the back end, so that's something which team must be looking at utilizing his services at. And it'll be interesting to see how Kuldeep also goes along. He's been actually one of the factors consistently doing well at one days. For sure, has been overlooked in the recent past. But I feel that if you look at his numbers, his numbers have actually been really good. He's played about 27 of 36 ODIs which India has played so far, and if you look at his numbers, they're actually quite impressive. He's taken about 37 wickets at economy, which is 5.5. And modern day cricket, I think those numbers are good. Sometimes the bowlers try to do extra, or the management expects of player in a different way, try to change their styles. But at times, it's just good to encourage the natural style of a player, and let it just flow that way. I think Kuldeep, I hope he understands himself what are his strengths. I think he's been told by too many people to increase that speed in the air, but he's had success with the slow, nice, loopy variations which he has been doing. So I think it's time that he understands his strength and backs himself at this level to take wickets. He's been taking wickets consistently. If he does that, I think it will be good for him going forward in his career.
Certainly will be. Interesting little dynamics in the balance, because of course the bowlers were the one who were all in the focus, but the batting as well. Despite scoring 300 a couple of times, Michael, there's a little change up there. Mayank Agarwal was the one expected to make way, but Shubman Gill, another prospect for the future.
Yeah, absolutely high class. He's got a wonderful a career ahead of him. You get your chance in the team, and you've just got to take it. Shubman Gill goes out there and scores a big number by his name. It's very difficult to be left out if you get 100. I know it's difficult because he's not been playing and he's kind of just thrown out there, but he's got a good pitch. It's always a good wicket in Canberra. He's got an Australian team without Stark and Pat Cummins. You've got to take your chance. And when you think Rohit Sharma's obviously going to come back into the side, he may not get too many more. So you've got to make sure that when you get that opportunity, particularly at the top of the order, where in this era of white ball cricket, these white balls aren't swinging and seaming as much as they used to. Batting at the top of the order, it's the biggest and best chance to go on and get a big score. So if you can see off the first 2 or 3 overs to get himself in and get himself settled to clear away the nerves, I think he's a magnificent young player that I have no doubt is going to be around the Indian team for many years. But what he has to be thinking is he wants to be in this team going forward from this day onwards. And the only way to absolutely guarantee that is to go out there and get a big score.
I'm just wondering, Zaheer, from a batting perspective, if someone like a Shubman Gill were to sort of look at the records, because records get thrown out everywhere and they're not a secret. Canberra is a high scoring ground, and 378, 348, 411. I mean, never mind the 370s. So 411 out of the 4 matches that have been played there. That'll be alarming from a bowler's perspective. But batting, can you get too eager when you see scores like that, Zaheer?
Well, that's the important thing, I guess. You can look at the statistics, what's happened at that particular ground as a reference point. The game is still going to start on 0-0. So that is something which you have to keep in mind, and you have to keep on following the processes. So it's important for any batter to get that feel of the ball on the bat. Get in that zone. So from Shubman Gill's point of view, or from Shikhar Dhawan's point of view, it will be important that he takes that confidence from the previous innings which he's played at this ground where he had a good run. So that's something which he must focus on. And from Shubman Gill's point of view, he still has to cross that bridge at the international level. It's a confidence thing for any player. Once you have that confidence, once you have that one innings which really sets the ball rolling for you in your career, that's something which every batsman, before he gets to that level, before he crosses that bridge, there's always these nerves. And I think that's what Shubman Gill must be feeling at the moment. He's got enough talent to go really a long distance at the international level, and that's something which we all eagerly waiting to witness, for him to get that confidence, that one inning, that spark which is required at the international level, because that kid surely has got immense talent and needs to do justice to that as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's still early days in his career. Michael, just a quick one from your own perspective. You've played in all sorts of difficult conditions, but if you came on a pitch and you were going to bat on it and it looked like it was full of runs, did you still have to rein yourself in mentally to say, as he said, you're still starting on 0?
Yeah, absolutely. There's only a few guarantees in cricket, and one of them is that you start on 0. It doesn't matter what the pitch, what the conditions are you're facing. If you go out there with a mindset that you think the pitch is flat and it's going to do nothing, and you can just kind of play strokes from ball one, there's a very good chance that you're probably going to be on the way back to the sheds quite quickly. So he's just got to watch the ball and react, and just give himself a chance. When you're coming into a side and you've seen the first 2 games, he'll have a half an idea of what the Australians are going to try and do to him, but he's just got to play. I mean, I just think he's got such a gift to be able to bat and play the conventional way. He's got the obviously power, he's got a few tricks, but I just like his convention that he just plays good, pure cricket strokes. And if he plays in that kind of fashion and holds his shape and lets the ball come to him, there should be a score around the corner. But cricket is a funny game that if you just expect and you just think that you can take your guard, middle stump please, and get a score without really concentrating and focusing and playing the situation and playing what's in front of you, there's a chance that you'll get a low score. So he seems to have a very good head on his shoulders. He seems very controlled, very calm, very mature for such a young player. So he's just got to try and see off those first few overs, give himself a chance, get those feet moving, watch the ball, and just see where it takes him.
Yeah, good advice from Michael Vaughan, but it's not just advice on the field. I can tell you, use this off the field as well. When you're picking your My 11 Circle team, yeah, you do the easy part. Get onto the website, download the app. But when you're picking your teams, don't just say, okay, it's Canberra, so I can only pick numbers 1 to 3, and not think about the middle order. Focus, balance. Get your captain, get your vice captain. You've got to play the right kind of cricket on any sort of pitch. A little bit like this next player we're going to talk about, our My 11 Circle trump card for today, and that is Shikhar Dhawan. Looking at that record in Canberra, we've taken you back to the 20th of January 2016, when he got 126 of 113 deliveries. Now, I know it's a long time ago, but Zaheer, it's also a ground where not that much cricket is necessarily played. It's the Australian capital. Are there sometimes places where you just have a memory and say, okay, I did well, 1 particular innings, 2 particular innings, and I'll feel comfortable here?
Always works. I feel it always works. If you have had a good performance on a particular ground, it just always gives you that extra edge when you go back there. The good memories really inspire you to get you into that zone. And many a times you've seen, people have had a rough patch, and then they go to their favorite ground, and suddenly things start falling into place. So that is something which always happens in any sport, I guess. It's just that mental side of the game. We often talk about. This is how it works. I think for Shikhar Dhawan, you'll be looking forward to get onto that pitch and start getting into that zone and let things flow from there.
The one negative, if anything, for Shikhar Dhawan, I mean, we used to talk about his love for the big tournaments where he would thrive and then come into a bilateral series, not perform so much, Michael. But the other aspect is in and out due to injury. Now, that plays a role every time you come back, occasionally even looking over your shoulder with the Shubman Gills of the world coming to pick up that spot with Rohit Sharma, also set to come back in at some point.
Yeah. I mean, it almost similar to his injuries, his form. If you look in the IPL, he either got 0 or 100 or a good score. That's how Shikhar Dhawan's been dealing of late. He's a magnificent player. His age will come against him eventually, because there's so many younger players coming through that'll be pushing him for his place in the side. But you fancy that Shikhar will get through to that 2023 50 over World Cup. If his body stays fine, his game, I think, will be certainly good enough to be opening the batting for India in Indian conditions. But at this level, you have to keep performing, because there's always going to be players and younger players in particular, like Shubman Gill, that'll be eyeing your place. Prithvi Shaw is at a difficult time of late. I'm sure he'll come knocking again sometime soon. So Shikhar knows, as all those senior players in both sides realise, that if you have 3 or 4 games where it doesn't quite go right, there's always going to be someone to take the shot. That, as I said about you start on naught, and particularly in international cricket, there is always someone that will be ready to take your place. So you've got to keep performing.
You certainly do. And one of the stats, maybe likes of Shikhar Dhawan, Shubman Gill will have been reminded of. We've talked about it in the first two games, gentlemen, and that is about the 2 wickets. No, not just the 2 wickets that you take with the ball. It's the 2 wickets that you don't lose when you're batting first. And we've talked about India at ODIs this year. Have a look at the 2 highlighted in blue. That's the 2 games India won. How many wickets did they lose in the first 10 overs when they were batting? None. So it's not a coincidence that they actually did that. Something they didn't quite do in the first couple of games here as well. But Zaheer, another aspect, we decided to go in depth into it. And something we discovered was that 9th and 10th over mark, close to that, is when they were losing that second wicket. So I know it's sort of trying to be very picky, but you need to be when you want to iron out such things.
Well, absolutely. You look at the modern day cricket, and every team approaches it in the same fashion, pretty much. So you divide the game into say 3 or 4 blocks, if you like, and that first block is 10 overs. You have 20 overs after that, which takes you to 30 overs, and then there is that important phase where the second power play is about to finish. Where if you have wickets in hand, you can really put bowlers under pressure. And the moment you lose that one block, you're behind the game. So that means that much extra work for the new batter to come in if you're batting, or bowlers are coming under pressure if you've not taken wickets in that first phase of the game. And it's its open secret. I feel like every team approaches the game in that fashion. They want to be, say, somewhere around 150 if you have to score 300 plus runs and have wickets in hand, so that they can approach that last 20 overs in a T20 format. And for that you need enough wickets in hand, and that is something which every team has been trying. Not every day you go out there and tick those boxes, and that's what as a team you strive for. And for Indian team, I think this year has been a disappointing year with that regard. Be it bowling or batting, they've been not able to tick that box, that first box consistently, and as a result, finding themselves under pressure going forward in the game. And I'm sure enough talks must have been done around that. But they want to finish this year now as quickly as possible and say that, okay, in 2021 maybe we'll not have these kind of issues or headaches.
Yeah, you wouldn't really want to put everything down, Michael, to 2020. I mean, the batsman can't turn around and say, yeah, we fail. It's 2020. Everything goes wrong. So it's December. There's another 31 days to go. Oh, less than that. And I think they just want to tell themselves, let's tick those simple boxes, and today would be a great day to start fixing it.
Yeah, I mean, there's blueprints to being successful in any cricket, but particularly this era of white ball cricket, and that is one of the top 3 has to get 100. That's what's not been happening from an Indian perspective this year. That they've just got to get one of those top 3 through the first 10, and then whoever gets through that first 10, they've got to give themselves the chance to bat right through to the 40th over, and then in the last 10 overs, well, then you have a bit of fun and anyone can get out. But your job in that top 3 really is to see off the new ball, try and strike and be positive. That's the era that we're playing in. You can't just, pat balls back and play out dot balls. You've still got to be aggressive and positive. But, the best players in this era can be aggressive and still look like they're playing in a conventional fashion. That's just the era that white ball game is at. So that top 3, really one of them, if not 2, has got to stick the hand up and say, if we get through the 10th, get to the 20th, then get to the 30th, get through to the 40th, which is pretty much the best time to bat because of the fielding restrictions. You really have to take it on yourself to get a big individual score to help the team.
Yeah, you certainly do. But, just looking at it from a point of view of all of your participation, given what's happened to India in the first couple of games, we still keep our hopes up, and we have lots and lots of questions coming in on #AskCricbuzz We've got another one. What we're going to do is we're going to pop in the question right now, and this is from Siddhesh Singh. And he says, are Indian pacers in particular struggling to adjust from T20 cricket to the ODI format in Australia? Now, I think a good time to talk about this would be when they're actually going to come into action in the middle of this particular game. So, Siddhesh, you and everybody else who might have similar questions, you need to listen to our discussion when the Indian bowlers are going to be in action. For now, we're focusing on the batsman. We're also focusing on an enigma for Australia. Somebody who's, well, we saw him during the IPL, always comes in with that potential, no matter how much you pay for him, but doesn't really seem to have delivered. But Glenn Maxwell 2.0, or shall we see 2020.0, has been a revelation, Zaheer Khan. It's almost a new Glenn Maxwell that probably kicked off last year with that 100 against, well, Michael will remember that. But Zaheer, let me get your opinion first.
We just spoke about players going to a particular ground and getting that confidence. I think in Maxwell's case, looks like the ODI format is something which is giving him that kind of confidence. He's had an average IPL, so the form getting into this series was not the most ideal one, but he's delivered again in this format. So that is something which was interesting to see. He's played a good hand in both the ODIs which he played so far. I think he's been bowling those 5 overs. That really takes the pressure off him in a way. There's always there's no doubt that he's got abundance of talent, and he's got that hitting ability. He's innovative with his shot making. So that really makes him that X factor player. But consistency is something which has always been a question mark with regard to the kind of talent which he has, and that is something which he needs to really work on. And ODI format, I think we have seen glimpses of that. It's still, I feel, long way away from the kind of potential which he has for him to do justice with that. But things are coming along surely for him, and I feel that bowling balance which he is adding has certainly taking that little bit of edge off the kind of pressure which he's been feeling. He's had those mental issues as well, right? Some depression treatment which he was doing, some pressures which he was feeling, So he's had his series of issues, but good that he's fighting all that and making impact at this level.
Yeah, that innings with him and Alex Carey, considering the position they were in, really catapulted him. But what Zaheer just touched upon, Michael, the mental health issues, and it's something that as a viewer you can never really know unless someone's come out with it, because he seems like such a jovial character, whether he's playing well or not.
Yeah, I think he started to understand himself as well. So he knows when to take a little bit of time out, when he needs a breather. That 100 that you mentioned, it was an incredible innings. Both he and Alex Carey, against a high-class England attack at Old Trafford. England dominating the game, and all of a sudden they came out and played with convention. And then at the end they started to play, I guess, and what we know of Glenn Maxwell, he played the Glenn Maxwell way towards the end to get Australia over the line. I don't think there's a white ball team in the world that wouldn't want Glenn Maxwell. And I'm pretty sure next time round in the IPL auction, most of the teams will still want Glenn Maxwell, because you only kind of look at him and think, well, look what Australia have done. I think they found his rightful place. I think he's in the right place for Australia at that number 7. And I don't think they'll move him too much, unless obviously they get off to the flyers that they have done and he comes in a little bit earlier. But I think they've found his role in that last 15 overs that they feel that that's when he's at his best, when he can go out there and just pretty much go from ball one. That's when he's having his most effect. You mentioned his bowling, Zaheer. I think his fielding as well. His fielding, you pretty much guarantee that he's going to probably save you 5 to 10 runs in the field. So he's already, in my eyes, when he goes out to bat, on 10. I mentioned that most batsmen start on 0. Well, Glenn Maxwell, he probably starts on 10 because he's that good in the field. As I said, there's no team in the world that wouldn't want Glenn Maxwell with what he brings all round. His love for the game. I mean, I don't think people realise how much of a cricket tragic he is. He absolutely idolises and adores the game, watches everything, knows every stat, every bit of information. And he's just found his kind of, probably his inner confidence and inner belief with that 100 that he scored against England, which is a little bit of a worry for the rest of the world. Now he's found his mojo in the Aussie one-day side. I feel he's going to have a consistent time of it over the next couple of years for Australia.
Yeah, it's an interesting point of view. We've heard that the variance on that. I think I like Michael's point of view. He starts on 10, and that's the kind of confidence you can walk in with as a player. We'll see how he goes. It's going to be very different circumstances today when he comes into bat. But as far as the questions that are asked, we've had one from hashtag Ask Cricbuzz Live. We have one from hashtag I'm going to give you a tough one today from Joy Bhattacharya. What's he got for us today? We had so much to say about that from both Michael and Zaheer. And this time around, here's a longish one. A player who's an IPL captain has played for 2 franchises with the same name in 2 different T20 leagues. He played for one in 2012 and the other in 2019. Name the franchises and the player. Well. A hint that he plays for different franchises. Well, there are many players who play for 10 franchises, 15 franchises. So try and think of those multiple franchise players and get to this. It's another interesting one from Joy Bhattacharya early on a weekday morning. But our My 11 Circle badge of honor is something, Michael, you adorned it the other day. Finally, after we had so many tries at it in the first couple of games. Should I remind you of the 4 scores that we've had so far? Are you going to go into that territory, Michael Vaughan? I'll let you go first.
No, I mean, I think India will play nicely. I'm going for 331.
331, certainly that's bare minimum of what India might need. Zaheer, are you topping that?
I'll have to. I think the way series has been going, the scores have been just getting bigger and bigger. So I think looking at the track record of this stadium as well, you can, I'm thinking I'll go 345.
345. Should I be adventurous? Because every time I've gone low, I've been made to look silly, which I generally look anyway, like I did at the start of the show today. But now that I've found my words, now that you can actually hear me towards the end of the show, I'm going to go 372. I'm going to go for a 372. Why not? Why not? It's one of those things. The series has gone, everything on the line, at least to put things right. T20 series coming up, Test series coming up. There's a time when you just go over that hump. And is this the day to do it in the Australian capital, in the heart of the Australian political scene? Go out there and make a statement, Team India. Come on, this is the time to do it. And this is the time we'll see who wins that My 11 Circle badge of honor. 15th over will give us a very good idea of how India are progressing. We will assess it on Cricbuzz Combox. And we'll come back in the mid-show with all 3 of us audible. By the way, that was all me. I was pressing a few buttons, trying to get too fancy, and off I went. I was not thinking of batting on 0. I was thinking I was batting on 50, and we're all going. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Zaheer. Lessons learned for all of us on and off the field. We'll see you. My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live.